This doesn't look like my room. Where am I? I'm very confused. Hello, welcome to Cheese and Alien Show, week 18. We have a very big surprise for you. Cheese and aliens together for this week's show, recapping the road course races we experienced up in Wisconsin for the Nationwide Series and the Cup race we had in Sonoma. So we'll start off with our shout out.
Our first shout out goes to Mr. Clint Boyer himself in the 15 car for his first win with Michael Waltrip Racing, and their first win in quite a while. Glad to see them finally get that win, since they've been up there in the top 5 with all of their drivers all year long. And it was Clint's first win since Talladega last year, and his 6th Cup Series win. I guess it seems like he's had more than 6, but maybe because he parties like he's had more than 6 wins. Gotta admit, I enjoyed his press conference after the race more than the race itself.
Yeah.
And it was his first road course win. For being a dirt track boy from Kansas, as he said, road course win is a big deal.
Yes. All right, our next shout out goes to, of course, the Nationwide winner, Nelson Piquet Jr. He won the Nationwide pole up there in Elkhart Lake, and he also won the race, and that was awesome for him. That's his first NASCAR win, and to have that done in Nationwide Series like James Busher did earlier this year. Maybe we'll get Nelson's first truck win later this season, like James did.
Definitely coming soon. Our next shout out goes to the Nationwide road course ringers and rovals, as we called it, the regulars on the ovals. They pretty much filled out our top 5 for us. Nelson, and then Michael McDowell and Ron Fellows, Max Pappas, and Sam Hornish Jr. who back when I was a bigger fan of the IndyCar series. Sam was one that certainly struggled on the road courses most of the time, and he's come a long way. So shout out to all of those drivers for their finishes in the Nationwide race.
Absolutely. Next shout out goes to Kurt Busch. Of course, we know he was the only driver to do both races this weekend, and he had amazing runs in both of them. He started in the rear of the field for the Nationwide race because of the driver switch, and he went and finished 8th. That's amazing for him to plow through the field like that. And then in Cup race, he started 8th, and then he finished 3rd, even after hitting those tires that were bolted down and breaking a part of his car. So just an amazing run for Kurt in both races. Great finishes for both those races, and can't wait to see what else is coming down the road for Kurt.
Our last shout out of this week would be the man on the back of my shirt. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finally finished the race for the first time in, about a month?
Hey, Ricky!
11th place finish, finished on the lead lap. So glad to see this finally. And then the big news that came out yesterday, he will be in the Cup Series full-time next year, although we're sad to see Matt Kenseth leave Roush Fenway Racing.
Yeah, so we're showing our Roush support. We've got the Carl shirt, the Ricky.
My Ricky shirt.
Yes.
So, very good news for one, and we wish Matt Kenseth luck moving on.
Why could you leave us?
Why?
Especially, why?
We've had planned for months now that we're going to his fan club and museum in Cambridge, which is only about an hour away from here, in about 48 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotta admit we had good timing on that planning.
But we still, Matt, will miss you and wish you the best of luck. Can't wait to see what you have planned for the next season. Next, we'll talk about the Nationwide race, and of course, pretty much the only big news is a certain driver pushing certain people out of the way. Of course, we've all been talking about it since Saturday. Jacques Villeneuve, one of those road course ringers, and all I have to say is, grrr! How dare you! First, he spins out Elliott, and then on the last lap, of course, we all have talked about this, he spins out Danica into the gravel. I'm very proud of her that she was still able to get out of the gravel and finish. Didn't she finish like 12th or something? And so that was pretty cool. But my biggest thing is after the race, Tony Eury Jr. of course goes up and talks to him, And then, and of course, they interviewed Junior to see what he talked to Jacques about, and then they interviewed Jacques. And this is one of the wonderful quotes we got about it. "We were racing hard and I wasn't fighting with Danica. I was fighting with Max Pappas, and just before the braking, I guess he was wanting to cross over and go to the inside of Danica. He probably didn't know I was there, so it pushed me in the grass." I don't remember him in the grass. Anyway, you don't slow down that much in the grass, so by that time I was on the racetrack again. I was going a little bit faster than Danica, that's all.
And, you know, some of the other drivers, including Max Pappas, had made some good arguments for Villeneuve in saying that he had grass on his tires and all that he couldn't stop as fast. But, you know, I could let it go once when he hit Elliott, because that one was more of a racing deal. It was kind of everyone was in the wrong place, the wrong time. But when this happens every time he comes to the Nationwide Series and his story doesn't exactly make sense, makes you wonder, makes you not very happy when your drivers are on the other end of the bumper.
My favorite thing is some of the regular Cup drivers tweeting after the incident. So we'll see if we see any people in the Watkins Glen or the Montreal Nationwide race that normally don't race Nationwide because
only to wreck the 22 cars.
All right.
Our favorite quote of the weekend was from the post-race interview of Clint Boyer, more in the media center, I guess. And there were many, many gems for quotes from this media center interview between him and Michael Waltrip and Brian Patties. But my favorite was Clint talking about, or answering a question about if does he think he's ready to be in the chase now, and he says, "I'd much rather be partying in Vegas than at home deer hunting, like he was last year." He said he had a lot of fun deer hunting, but it's way more fun partying in Vegas at the end of the year, and I can't blame him.
The way he partied after this win, I can't imagine what he's going to do in Vegas if he makes the chase. Or when he makes the chase, excuse me.
When he makes the chase.
Next for Cup, of course, we had, I'm talking about the spinners, I guess. We had Jacques Villeneuve, and then Joey Logano had some precious gems. Joey Logano, you wrecked your teammate in turn 11.
I believe he helped Kyle Busch spin out at one point.
Absolutely.
As well.
So poor Denny Hamlin and even Kyle Busch. So that's very rare for me to say that. I feel bad for Kyle Busch for someone wrecking him, but when it's an idiot move like Joey did, then it has to be said. And then Joey Logano wrecks Martin Truex Jr. Ugh, those boys. Martin Truex Jr. was wrecked by Joey Logano on the last lap. And so, of course, tweets ensued between Ryan Truex expressing how unhappy he was, and Joey did apologize for all those, and so now everything is cleared up, and hopefully it won't happen again.
And as we already mentioned earlier, the big news yesterday with Matt Kenseth leaving Roush Fenway at the end of the year, we saw Tony Stewart be able to win the championship last year, even though he had announced that Darian Grubb was leaving. There's no reason why Matt, while he's points leader now, doesn't have a great shot at winning another championship for Roush Fenway before he leaves.
Absolutely.
Thought we were going to have a nice, relaxing day in the pool, the one day of the week without racing, and then it comes on the radio that there's a driver leaving his team, and we're thinking, oh, it's all the contract talks, it's nothing new or anything, that's a big deal, and then they came out and said that. Kind of ruined my pool day, although I am excited for Ricky Stenhouse to be in the Cup Series next year.
Absolutely. Cannot wait to see what Ricky does in the Cup ride next year.
Oh, we had one big bone to pick with the Nationwide Series race and the coverage. We were focusing way too much on some of the drama and some of the other drivers that wasn't necessarily a big deal at the time, but yet we never saw really any attention put on the championship contenders, except for when Elliott got spun out, and that still barely received a mention from the broadcasting crew. Really? If some of us are fans of the Nationwide Series and want to see what's going on with these drivers every week, I was going to say guys, but we had to include Danica in there too.
Absolutely.
She's 10 points. So, if at least a mention once in a while would be nice.
Yes. And also with that, I mean, I can kind of understand, um, we're only halfway into the season, but we're getting really close to the end. And so we got to step it up and we got to really start talking about the championship, I think, because we've got some really great contenders this year. Next, we have our fantasy weekend. I win fantasy. Not by a whole lot, but it was pretty close, but
Bigger than last week's margin.
absolutely. And but I'm still glad that I can take the win for fantasy this weekend.
Coming up next, Kentucky. Starting early. We got a Thursday night race with the Truck Series. Pretty excited about that. So we'll see if the parking changes and additions actually work out for the fans. We're hoping they do, just because I would be so angry if I was one of them that had to miss part of the race because there wasn't any parking. Gotta love the big cities. And we're kind of hoping for better winners than last year.
Yeah,
Instead
seeing
of
Kyle and Brad in victory lane wasn't very exciting.
the entire weekend.
So let's hope for much better winners in victory lane. Glad you tuned in this week to see the Cheese and Alien together. And hope you enjoyed this week's show. We'll see what happens in Kentucky as we have all three NASCAR series in Kentucky racing. And so we'll see what happens.
Have a good weekend!